The restaurant was hushed, but not silent. The faint clinking of silverware, the muted conversations, and the low hum of jazz playing through hidden speakers all blended into an atmosphere of elegance. At the center of it all sat a woman in her late 40s, her black hair swept neatly into a bun, her silk kimono patterned with delicate cherry blossoms. She looked out of place, not because she lacked grace, but because no one at the long dining table seemed to understand her. She smiled gently when spoken to, bowed her head politely, and gestured with soft hands, but her eyes told a different story. They held something unspoken, something heavy, something that longed to be heard. It was a charity dinner hosted at one of the most expensive restaurants in Tokyo, where wealthy donors gathered to pledge money for children's education programs. Around her sat men in tailored suits and women in glittering gowns, sipping wine worth more than some families made in a month. But the Japanese woman, who had funded half the event quietly, without requesting her name on any pamphlet, sat there as if surrounded by glass. People spoke about her in English, thinking she couldn't understand. Some whispered that she was eccentric, others wondered why she didn't just hire a translator. A few even laughed softly at her quiet nods, dismissing her as odd or aloof. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew why she chose silence over broken words. Nobody knew the story that lived inside her. Before I take you deeper into this heart-touching story, let me pause and ask you, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the beauty of compassion even in a world that often overlooks it, please like this video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support keeps these real and emotional stories alive, stories that remind us all of the goodness still left in humanity. As the courses were served, delicate sashimi, steaming miso, perfectly grilled sea bass, the woman remained gracious, thanking the servers with soft bows. Her name was Yumi Tanaka, though nobody at the table seemed to care enough to remember. To them, she was just the quiet Japanese sponsor. She rarely raised her eyes, but when she did, she scanned the faces as if searching for something more than shallow smiles and polite small talk. Her silence was not weakness, it was a fortress. Yet no one tried to see beyond it. What the wealthy guests didn't know was that Yumi had once been just like them. Decades earlier, she was the daughter of a small-town fisherman, growing up in a wooden house by the sea. Her mother had died young, leaving Yumi to care for her younger brother while her father spent long nights at sea. She dreamed of becoming a teacher, of bringing hope to children who grew up with nothing but empty stomachs and impossible futures. But life took her elsewhere. Through sheer determination, late nights of study, and endless hours working menial jobs, she found herself rising in the business world. She created a small import company, then expanded, and soon became one of Japan's most discreet millionaires. But success had not erased her loneliness. It had only built walls. Her English was never strong. In her youth, she had tried to learn, but years of being mocked for her accent, years of feeling less than in foreign business meetings, had made her retreat into silence whenever she left Japan. To protect herself, she spoke little. To the world, it looked like she was cold. To her, it was survival. And so, on this night, as the room filled with laughter and conversations in a language she only half understood, Yumi felt invisible. She glanced toward the waitstaff moving swiftly between tables. That was when her eyes met those of a young waitress, perhaps no older than 22, who paused just long enough to smile at her. It wasn't the polite smile of service, but a warm, genuine smile. Something in Yumi's chest stirred. As the evening went on, she overheard fragments of conversation. Some of the other guests speculated that she was simply throwing money around to gain status. Others said she must be socially awkward. One man even chuckled under his breath, suggesting that she was a recluse who probably had no idea how to fit in. Yumi lowered her gaze, her chopsticks trembling in her hand. She had faced worse in life, but still, the sting of being misunderstood never fully healed. Then came the moment that changed everything. When the waitress returned to refill glasses, she leaned in ever so slightly and whispered in Japanese, "Your kimono is beautiful. My grandmother had one just like it." The sound of her native tongue, soft, respectful, and unexpected, washed over Yumi like a sudden spring rain after years of drought. For a moment, she froze, her eyes widening, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked up at the young woman, tears threatening to break free. She whispered back, "Arigato, thank you." It was just two simple words exchanged. But the table went quiet. Those sitting nearby noticed Yumi's face light up, her eyes softening, her smile finally reaching her soul. And then the waitress, seeing the confusion on the others' faces, explained gently in English, "She understands us, but she feels more at home in her own language. She has been listening to everything, quietly, respectfully. You should know, this entire dinner, all the scholarships we are talking about, are possible because of her generosity." The table fell into stunned silence. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few looked down at their plates, ashamed of their earlier whispers. Suddenly, the quiet Japanese woman was no longer invisible. She was the reason the night existed. Yumi didn't need recognition. She never had. But in that moment, as she sat a little taller, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, seen. Truly seen. And it wasn't the millionaires or the businessmen who gave her that gift. It was a young waitress who simply chose kindness, who remembered that every person, no matter how rich, how quiet, how different, carries a story waiting to be understood. The rest of the night felt different. Guests now approached Yumi with newfound respect, asking careful questions, listening more than they spoke. And for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to share, about her childhood, her dreams for children's education, her belief that money was not power but a responsibility. By the time dessert was served, she was no longer a mystery. She was a beacon of quiet strength. This story is not about wealth. It is not about language. It is about the simple truth that every soul longs to be understood, and that sometimes, the smallest gesture, a whisper in someone's heart language, can unlock a world of healing. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of kindness and the importance of seeing people beyond the surface, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. These stories live because of you, and together we can spread more light in a world that often feels too dark. And before we end, I have one special request. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness is a language everyone understands," if you believe in the power of compassion across all barriers.